What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Atlas podcast, or rather another page in your Relationship Atlas. My name is Atlas. I'm your coach in this podcast here, and my hope with this episode and with all the episodes is to be kind of a coach in your pocket, right? This information is always accessible to you whenever you need. So today's coaching is around a concept that I really have a lot of passion for. I think is crucial for our intimate relationships and really helps us cognitively relate better. Or rather, what I mean by cognitively is that it allows us to reframe a lot of scenarios that are causing us unintentional harm or suffering or hurt, and they allow us to create more harmony and more connection. Now, enough with the big words. Here's the phrase. The phrase is, your good intentions matter, but your impact matters more. Let me say that again. Your good intentions are important, but the impact of what has happened matters more. This is a classic example of just simply cause and effect, right? Or intention over impact. Here's an example I want you to come to or return to throughout this conversation. You walk into a bedroom. In the bedroom, there's pillows, naturally so. In this bedroom, there's a single pillow sitting in the middle of the bed. You walk into the room, you feel angry. You say, I'm going to punch that pillow. So you go, you take your fist, and you punch that pillow. After you're done kicking this pillow's ass, what's left on the pillow? An indent, right? Your fist has impacted that pillow. Pretty seamless, right? That's not a confusing conversation. I meant to do that. I had the intention of hitting that pillow. I knew what the pillow would look like when it was over. I knew I would cause an indent in the pillow. That was my intention. Great, right? Intention meets impact. No questions. Really seamless. And the pillow isn't confused either, right? The pillow's like, yeah, you meant to hit me. I get that. I understand why I'm impacted here. Totally makes sense. Now restart the scenario. You walk into the same bedroom. The same pillow is just sitting there in the middle of the bed. You see the pillow and you say, I actually have no intention of harming you whatsoever. So I'm just going to not cause any indents. I actually just need something from the other side of the room. You walk to the other side of the room. You get what you need. You start walking out of the room. Something's on the floor that's slippery. You slip, try to catch yourself. Your fist flies into the pillow. You get up. You don't even know what happened. You find your footing again. You look at the pillow and you realize what? The pillow is indented, right? Did you mean to indent the pillow? No. I slipped. I fell. Total accident. Okay, great. Does that mean that there's no indent in the pillow? No, it doesn't. The indent is still there, right? So the cause had an effect. The intention was really nothing, actually. It was just simply to get something from the other side of the room, walk out of the room, and return to your normal routine. But something happened in between. Now the impact is indented pillow, right? Now imagine this pillow can talk to you, right? If you were to look at the pillow and say, oh, wow, did not mean to do that. Pillow's like, yeah, totally. I appreciate that. But can you see there's still an indent here? And you're like, well, I guess. Of course, I can see that, but I didn't mean to do it. So I don't really know. What do you mean? My intention was just to leave the room. And the pillow's like, yeah, I know that. I was watching you walk out of the room. But you can see that didn't happen, right? Like you can see that hey, force met me. You can see my face is kind of dented in. You can see that, right? And I say, well, I guess I can see it. I guess. I mean, yeah, sure. But again, I hope you know that wasn't my intention. I wasn't trying to cause you any harm or create any hurt here. I wasn't trying to indent you. I was just trying to leave the room. And the pillow was like, yeah, dude, I know that. I understand. But what I'm not hearing you address is the fact that this hurt. And I say, well, I mean, I don't even understand how it could have hurt because it was all a total accident. I had no intention to hurt you. And the pillow's like, yeah. And yet I'm hurt still. I could take that metaphor for a whole roller coaster ride. But that's what I want you to just consider when we think about our intimate relationships and the ways in which our intentions create impacts, or rather our lack of intention can also create impact. Here's what I mean by that. When you walk down the street, right, and you have this face on you and somebody passes you, they look at your face, they don't like it, they feel some type of way, but they keep walking. Without you doing anything, you have impacted somebody else's experience, okay? When you go to the gym, you work out really hard. Let's say you throw your weights down, right? You're thinking, I'm just working out really hard. Everyone else is like, whoa, can you stop throwing that around? Like, you're interrupting my workout. I'm feeling like I don't really know if I like this gym anymore. And you're like, I don't understand how that has anything to do with me. My intention is just to work out really hard, right? You are impacting that space. Let's say nobody's around. You're just walking in a forest. Would it be fair to say that your foot is impacting the ground floor of that forest? Yes, it would. When you brush up against a tree and you knock some leaves down, fair to say you impacted that experience. You changed it in some way, right? Yes, that we can agree on. What we struggle to agree on is the interpretation people have of our intentions. That's the difficult part. And that's where the phrase comes back into the conversation. Your intentions are important. Yes, always, right? They matter. But they don't matter as much, truthfully, as the impact of those intentions, right? So my partner comes to me the other day and she brings up something. This is a true story. She says, hey, this is my experience of what just happened. And instantly I got defensive and I said, what do you even mean? Like, how did you get there? And she tells me how she got there. And I say, well, it's definitely not what I intended to do. Like, I'm not even sure how my intention could even get there. I wasn't even thinking about it. I mean, you can go back to the pillow conversation. I slipped or I tripped. I wasn't aware of my surroundings, right? And so she says, yeah, totally. And also, like, I'm feeling hurt right now. And so we get into this battle. And this battle goes on for a bit. And the majority of the time, the battle's continuing because what I am not spending any time focusing on is the indent in the pillow or the experience that she is having that was created or interpreted by the things that I did or didn't do. In this case, it was something I didn't do. Right? And so I'm fighting for my good intentions. Well, like, here's what else I did, and here's what else I did, and here was why I did this. And like, if only you could just get that, then you wouldn't be so hurt. I didn't actually say that, but that's the thought of, that's almost the intention of fighting for my good intention, is if I can just really get you to get it, you wouldn't be hurt 5 minutes ago. That reality wouldn't have existed. Which is funny to really think about because that's impossible, right? I can't go back and change time. So it does me such a disservice, both for myself and for my relationship, to spend time focusing on my good intention more than I spend time focusing on the impact of what's currently happening for my partner in this moment. And you can even relate this back to some things you've experienced yourself. You're having a conversation with somebody and you're telling them, hey, that really bothered me. And they're like, yeah, oh, what? Listen, this was really what I meant to do. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool. And maybe you can settle on it, but you don't feel complete. There's a part of you that's like, do you even care that it hurt? Right? Do you even care that I was bothered by it? And that is the experience our partner is having when we fight for our good intention. So, how do we take this knowledge of impact over intention and apply it in a tangible way? First things first, you're going to fight for your own good intentions. That's just human. You're going to protect yourself. It's going to be one of your first responses, more likely. And again, like I said, it just happened for me the other day. And this is a concept I'm really passionate about. Okay. So it will happen sometimes. It's the nature of circumstances. What we're looking to create here and build is a quicker response time to recognizing when we're doing that, right? I want you just to imagine that this statement, impact over intention, is your anchor. And you are the buoy on the top of the water, right? And the waves are crashing in. They're trying to take away this buoy, trying to float you away. And you're saying, hold on. Like, even though the waves are crashing into me, I'm always anchored in the reality that my impact matters more than my intention. So I can always return to that, right? I don't drift too far from that, but I do drift. So there'll be moments where I'll say, well, listen, this is really what I meant to do. And then my mind will come eventually back and it'll be like, oh, wait a second. The waters will calm and I will be able to get to the conversation around the impact. So what does that conversation around the impact actually look like? So here's the real challenge of this conversation for you in your relationship dynamic. The real challenge is to return to their experience as quick as possible. If you can't, you will notice, because the conversation is not going well, right? That's generally a sign that I am not looking to hear and understand the impact. I am looking to spend more time fighting for my good intention. This isn't actually going anywhere right now. Hey, I'm really frustrated by this conversation. I need a break. We're not really getting anywhere right now. I'm going to go take 5 minutes in the other room. I'll be right back. Take a time out. God, I wish I knew this when I was younger, that taking a time out can just radically change everything, right? And I used to do it in an unsafe way. Now I do it in a safer way. I take 5 minutes and I come back to the room. I stay true to my integrity, right? Other times I will put myself in the fire and I'll stay and I'll have this loving fierceness conversation where, we're battling, but we're not disrespectful, right? But we're battling, right? There's heat here. And I will stay in there and I will eventually get to, hey, totally understand that you were hurt, right? So here's a really, really quick and easy way to work through this amount of intention over impact. Just ask. Hey, my intention was actually to do this, but can you tell me what kind of impact that had? It's curiosity, right? It actually puts an effort into understanding something I don't understand yet, right? I still got clear that my intention was good, right? But I didn't die on my sword on that because, again, it's more of a philosophy than it is an actual tangible reality. And so I'm going to pay attention to you and say, hey, I just want you to know, I really was trying to love you right now and take care of this situation. But I think I'm not quite understanding maybe the direction that it went for you. Talk to me a bit about the impact for you. What was that like for you to experience? All right. And the partner will say, yeah, it actually kind of really sucked, to be honest. It hurt me a little bit because the story I told myself was that you just didn't really care. And you're like, oh, really? Well, I mean, I guess I can totally see that because when I did this rearranged in this way, and then this is how I didn't come through. And so, yeah, hey, listen, totally understand. Again, was not my intention, but totally understand that was my impact. Right? Different conversation. Now I've addressed both pieces of the pie. I haven't forgotten about my good intention, but I've made a priority to understand the impact. And now my goal with this indented pillow is to smooth it out. Smooth out the pillow. Bring love back into the equation, right? Bring care, bring compassion back into the conversation. And every time I do that, I smooth that pillow back out, right? I take away the indent, and the pillow is more or less back to its usual fluffy self, smooth self, right? Again, I could take that metaphor for a whole roller coaster ride. So how do we wrap this up? Really simply, your impact matters more than your intention. When you fight for your good intentions, you are fighting a losing battle. When you fight to understand the impact, you are more likely fighting a winning battle, right? That will require you, and listen to this piece, it will require you to give a shit about the impact, right? And what that actually is saying is it's going to ask you to give a shit about how your partner experiences the world around them. God, take that in. In order to really get your partner's experience, it's going to ask you to give a shit about how they experience the world, including you. How do they experience you? How are they experiencing you? Man, if I really got that, I almost wouldn't even need intention over impact in the past. I would have changed everything for me. If I just understood that what I'm sharing right now is I don't care about how you experience the world. I need to really get my experience. Such a selfish way of approaching things, right? It says everything's about me, right? But what I do is I try to really focus on the we. It's not just about me. There's two people experiencing the world here, me and my partner, not me and me. So how do I get myself out of myself? Well, I take timeouts, or I take a breath, or I actually lock in with eye contact. I am looking right at her, and then it almost softens me in a small enough way because I'm looking at the person that I love with intention in her eyes, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's right. I actually do really give a shit about you. Totally forgot for a second there. Let me get back to this. I don't say that. That's what I say into my head. So again, I can return to impact over intention. I don't always start that way, but I always return and get there. And then from there, we can have a conversation about how else or what differently could I have done to create this impact I was actually trying to create. And now we get change. Now we get opportunity, right? Now we're opening up doors to connecting and, again, more harmony in our relationship. So I hope this podcast helped in some way, shape, or form. Again, my challenge to you is to create that anchor for yourself in your mind. It's an anchor thought. That thought's something you can return to, right? When you lose track, when you start to drift with the waves, you can always return to the reality. Impact matters more than intention. Impact matters more than intention. That's written all over that anchor at the bottom of the ocean. And you're up top, again, floating through. You can return to that, calm the waters. Hey, I hear you're hurt right now. That was absolutely not my intention, but I want you to know that I really understand that was my impact. I don't want to hurt you again in the future. Is there something differently I could have done or can do to create this intention that I have, that you will receive in that way, right? I can try to give something to you all the time, and I could completely miss you every single time because I'm not clear on how you receive things. So why don't I just ask you, how would you receive this better next time? Woo! There is fire in this one, folks. I just gave you so many keys to doors that are going to drastically help relating with your partner, because God, have they helped mine. Let's leave it there. Episode 3, Relationship Atlas Podcast. If you liked this episode or you have thoughts around this episode, I would love to hear them in the comments below. Please subscribe. It means the world to me. The more people subscribe, the more this podcast gets pushed. It's just the reality. And so it would mean a lot if you could subscribe and share or leave a comment below. Interact with this in some way. It will help reach a wider audience. If you have found value in this and you want to take this work to another level, if you notice that you kind of understand the concepts and you get it, and maybe you've tried to apply it, but it's not really showing itself well in your relationship, and you want to figure out how your unique relationship works with concepts like this, you want to do this work more intentionally, I'm a relationship coach. I support clients with these exact issues. So please reach out to me, atlasmecca@gmail.com. You can also go to my socials, atlas.relationshipcoach, and click the link in the bio to book a discovery call or a connection call. It's just where we get a chance to meet each other, chat a bit more about what you're looking for and how I can support you and what containers would work best. But that's all for now. Thanks again for joining. I really appreciate you being here. This is a space to help create healthier, happier relationships, and I hope today we were able to get closer to that goal for you. Have an amazing day. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Love ya. See you soon.